Is Matt Miller on the phone line right now from Bleacher Report?
I believe so.
Okay, Matt Miller, who we've never had on this show. So I enjoy following him on Twitter, and I enjoy his work for Bleacher Report. A man who knows quite a bit about this here draft here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Matt?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Rich. Good to talk to you.
Where have I found you? Where are you calling in from?
I'm in the middle of Manhattan right now. You guys get to hang out in Dallas and eat barbecue, and I get to come to Bleacher Report in New York and spend the week up here.
All right, so what are you hearing from up there about the first overall selection in this draft?
Yeah, I'm with you. I started hearing the same things last night. You know, people, I think everyone in the NFL, we all kind of talk to the same group of people, and they start texting you to say, you know, hey, there's a lot of talk about Baker Mayfield, and I agree. I think it would be shocking, right? I mean, we all know it's going to be a quarterback, but I do think it would be a surprise if it were Baker. I know people in his camp that thought his interview with them went really, really well, and when he left there, he was there for like 2.5 days, and when he left, they were like, hey, we love you, man, but we can't draft you. And it's, you know, whether you want to compare him to Johnny Manziel or not, I think there are just too many comparisons where he's a great quarterback. He's a heck of a prospect, but I don't know that you can draft another, 6-foot-tall, spread, run-around quarterback coming out of the state of Texas when you so historically flamed on Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, but I mean, they aren't the same in terms of, ability. Although, hold on a second. By that, the quote that Mayfield had attributed to him about why he did not study the Los Angeles Chargers playbook was one of the first things that I've heard over the last 2-3 months that would give me pause in any way, shape, or form in regards to drafting him. But then again, I work, and not to say he's Deion Sanders as a quarterback, I work with Deion Sanders, who would talk to teams that he didn't think had a chance in drafting him, and he said, I'm not even interviewing with you. Where do you stand on that subject?
No, I think Baker is an interesting guy, and I think the Manziel comparisons are lazy, but I'm with you. Like, that story's not great. And then I don't know if you watched the Behind Baker series, and I'm not trying to plug it for them, but it was really interesting to me that his mom, dad, and brother were super nervous that he was going to stay in L.A. and train after the Rose Bowl. That it wasn't maybe the best atmosphere for him to be out there unsupervised. And, here we are a week before the draft, and it seems like he's made it without getting in any trouble. But I think it is a little bit of a concern. And, I've spent a lot of time around Baker, whether it's, the Senior Bowl or the Combine, and he's great. Every teammate loves him. He's a great leader. He's a little fiery at times, but I think that's part of the chip that you want, and it works for Tom Brady and it works for Aaron Rodgers. So it would be hypocritical to say it can't work for Baker if he can find a way to control it a little bit.
At NFL Draft Scout is how you can follow Matt Miller, the senior lead NFL draft writer for Bleacher Report, calling in here on the Rich Eisen Show. So doing this evaluation, Cleveland has to do it. How do you evaluate the quarterbacks at the top of this draft then?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in line with everybody else. You could poke holes in every one of these quarterbacks and list reasons they shouldn't be the top guy. But I think at the end of the day, Sam Darnold gives you the best bet to be a franchise quarterback. And in 5 years, he might not be the best one because guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have so much upside. But I think in 5 years, he's not going to be the worst. If he doesn't hit his ceiling, he's still a pretty good quarterback. And for Cleveland, I think that psychology has to come into play of, we've been bad for 20 years, and we keep missing on this. Maybe it's time to just take the safe bet, who also happens to be really, really good. And, was asked to do a lot of things at USC that are pro-ready. He was asked to carry a team that wasn't very good, and he only got better late in games. So there's a lot to like with Darnold. He's a young kid. He's 20, 21, almost 21 years old. So there's also room for him to learn and grow and become a better player than we saw him in, not even 2 years of starting at USC.
So you have in your mock draft, you've got, because we've said you've got an interesting choice for the Giants here, because I've said that they've got pretty much 5 choices, the Giants, that they take a quarterback, they take Barkley, they trade out, they surprise everybody and take Quentin Nelson, although you've got to figuring out a way for the Giants to put him next to Nate Solder for a while would be just a spectacular way to keep Eli Manning upright for a few more years. And then you have choice 5, Bradley Chubb. Why do you think that's what the Giants are eventually going to decide to do in a couple of days?
Yeah, I'll give you a spoiler alert. That's actually changing in my final mock draft that comes out Thursday. So
okay.
It got closer to time, and I backed off that. Chubb would be a fit, though. In that 3-4 defense they're going to run, you put him at weak side backer, and for some reason he's ended incredible. As a guy who's just dominated NC State, but all the talk goes to the quarterbacks or Saquon Barkley, and that's who I have the Giants taking it to. Like you were saying, you have Eli Manning, and it seems like they believe that he can do the job for 2 to 3 more years. They signed Nate Solder. Every move that they've made, to me at least, points to the idea of loading up around Eli and seeing what they have in Davis Webb, who's the last front officer in the 3rd round last year. So you go with Saquon Barkley, and we've seen it so many times. With last year, give Blake Bortles, Leonard Fournette, give Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey. You have Jared Goff and Todd Gurley working well together. And even, the Cowboys wanted to give Tony Romo Ezekiel Elliott before he got hurt. So I think that is one really smart way to try to extend this window with Eli Manning and hopefully make another run, because that defense is actually pretty good, and they have some targets at receiver and tight end. If they can just kind of all get on the same page, they could be a sneaky, dangerous team next year.
So who's a sneaky good pick for first round? Who do you think would be a great value pick for a Thursday night, which is a nice phrase, meaning somebody who's either a sleeper or comes up and is chosen in a spot that's lower than you think his talent level should have him?
Yeah, the guy, Rich, that I keep going back to is Hayden Hurst out of South Carolina, tight end who played minor league baseball, got the yips, couldn't cut it as a pitcher, ends up playing tight end for South Carolina, and very, very good player. He's a little bit older, but a team like the Baltimore Ravens, where they could just plug him in at tight end, it's more of a finished product, so you don't care about the fact that he's 25 years old, because he's going to get on the field right away and hopefully give you something in the middle of the field. I mean, they're signing every receiver they can to try to fill a need there, which makes me think that they could really go tight end to try to give Joe Flacco that guy he hasn't had since Todd Heap was out there running around.
What about defensively, on the defensive side of the ball?
Defensively, yeah, I think that you can look at someone like Arden Key as probably the biggest wild card and the question mark coming out of LSU. Played at 280 pounds this year. He also played at 235 pounds this year. So he's a really hard guy to gauge where he's going to go. It might not be Thursday night. It might be Friday because of some off-field questions. But if you go back to 2016, when he was at a good playing weight and when he was locked in, he was one of the best defensive ends in the country. So he's a really intriguing name to watch. Is a guy that our team's going to bet on his talent at the end of the first round, or will they be scared off and we'll hear his name called on Friday?
Last one for you, Matt Miller, Bleacher Report. How many quarterbacks go in the first round in a couple of nights when it all comes down to it?
Man,
what do you think?
I wish I knew the answer, because I think the over-under is at 5.5. So I would say 6. I think Lamar Jackson's locked to go round 1, and we'll see Mason Rudolph. I could absolutely see a team like New England or the New Orleans Saints wanting to get that quarterback of the future and also wanting to get him for 5 years, especially after watching Jimmy Garoppolo leave a little bit earlier than they probably would have liked. Now you can get a guy that you can lock in for a full 5 years, and I don't know. I think Tom Brady will probably be done playing by then, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
No, but I think you make a good point, Matt, and that's something that we've rarely heard brought up when we hear Lamar Jackson's going to fall out of the first round, that somebody would definitely knock on Philadelphia's door 32nd overall to whatever draft capital is required to get up there to make sure that you get him for a 5th year, as opposed to falling into the second round into Jimmy Garoppolo territory. I think that's a smart, shrewd analysis of why Lamar Jackson is definitely not going to drop to round number 2.
Yeah, and Philly doesn't have a pick in round 2 or 3, so they're going to be motivated to trade back, I think, and recoup some of that capital they've traded off to build this incredible roster they have. So that's probably the most likely trade to watch for as well.
Matt, appreciate the time. We'll chat again soon.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Good luck this week.
Yeah, you too. That's Matt Miller. Check him out on Bleacher Report, at NFL Draft Scout on Twitter. He's the co-host of something called the Stick to Football podcast.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.